In 1955, a man could walk into his garage with a handful of scrap metal and walk out with a working tool. No Amazon order, no YouTube tutorial, just hands, heat, and hard-won knowledge passed down from his father. Today, most men cannot sharpen a kitchen knife, let alone temper a chisel. Number 11 on this list was taught in every high school shop class in America, but the last school in Ohio to offer it cut the program in 2003. And number 4 involves a technique that modern engineers recently studied and called remarkably efficient. These 15 skills built this country. Then we forgot every single one of them. Before we start, hit that subscribe button because what you are about to learn used to be common knowledge. Number 15, hand filing to a flat surface. Before bench grinders and belt sanders took over, your grandfather could take a 12-inch mill bastard file and produce a surface flat to within 1,000th of an inch. The trick was cross-filing. You worked diagonally in one direction, then switched 45 degrees on the next pass. Bright marks meant metal was still standing. Dull spots meant you had cut through. A file cost about $2 at Sears in 1955, and it lasted years if you kept it clean with a file card. Today, men reach for an angle grinder and burn through the surface in seconds, leaving a finish that would have gotten you fired from any machine shop. Patience is gone. The feel for metal is gone. Number 14, soldering copper pipe by temperature and color. Modern plumbers squeeze flux from a tube. Your grandfather made his own from sal ammoniac, zinc chloride, and water. But the real skill was reading heat. He could tell the temperature of a copper fitting by color alone. A dull cherry glow meant too hot. A faint shimmer meant perfect. With one smooth pass of solder around the joint, capillary action pulled it in, and the joint was watertight. A roll of solder cost about $1 in 1955. He never needed a fitting twice because the first one always held. Number 13, rip sawing lumber by hand. Your grandfather could rip a 10-foot pine board straight and true with a 26-inch handsaw. The secret was the stance. The saw arm moved from the shoulder, not the wrist. He started with 3 gentle pull strokes to establish the kerf, then let the weight of the saw do the work. And the skill within the skill, he sharpened that saw himself with a triangular file and a shop-made vise. A quality Diston handsaw cost around $8 in 1955, but lasted a lifetime because he maintained it. Today we buy disposable blades and throw them away. He would have called that criminal. Number 12, riveting by hand. Before pop rivet guns, your grandfather joined sheet metal with solid rivets and a ball peen hammer. The rhythm was everything. Light taps to upset the metal first, then firm strikes to form the head. Hit too hard too early, and the rivet bent sideways. Aircraft factories trained thousands in this during the war, and by 1955, every shade tree mechanic could rivet a patch on a truck fender. A pound of rivets cost 50 cents. We traded that for a squeeze handle tool that makes joints half as strong. Number 11, sharpening a drill bit by hand. Every man who worked with metal in 1955 could sharpen a twist drill on a bench grinder by eye. He held the bit at 59 degrees to the wheel and rolled it slightly downward to create lip clearance. Both lips had to be exactly even, or the drill would cut oversize and wander. A set of high-speed steel bits cost about $4 and lasted a decade because nobody threw away a dull bit. They sharpened it. This was standard curriculum in every American shop class through the 1970s. Today, most men do not even know drill bits can be resharpened. First pattern break. Here's where it gets interesting. Your grandfather did not just fix things. He understood materials in a way that has completely vanished. He could pick up a piece of steel, scratch it with a file, and tell you roughly what carbon content it had by how the file bit in. He could heat tool steel cherry red, quench it in oil, and produce a hardened edge that held up for months. This was not magic. This was metallurgy learned at the anvil, not in a classroom. Number 10, forge welding. He heated 2 pieces of steel in a coal forge until they reached welding heat, a bright lemon yellow most men today would not recognize. He pulled them out, sprinkled borax as flux, and hammered them together. The window was about 3 seconds. Too cool and the metal would not fuse. Too hot and it burned. Every farming community in America had at least one man who could forge weld a broken plow blade. By 1975, most of those forges were cold, sold for scrap, or left rusting behind the barn. Number 9, wood joint layout with a marking gauge. Your grandfather did not pencil a line and hope for the best. He scored a knife line into the wood fibers. That line gave a precise reference that would not smudge, and it severed the fibers so the chisel would not splinter past the joint. For dovetails, he used a sliding bevel set to 1 1/8 for hardwood. Every line was cut, not drawn. A marking gauge cost $1.50. Modern woodworkers rely on pencils and tape measures, then wonder why their joints have gaps. Number 8, cutting threads with taps and dies. If your grandfather needed a bolt that did not exist at the hardware store, he made one. Steel rod clamped in a vise, the die was turned by half a turn forward, then a quarter turn back, clearing the chips on each pass. Cutting oil dripped from a small can. A basic tap and die set cost $12 and covered every standard thread. A man could repair any machine in his barn without waiting 3 days for a part from the catalog. Number 7, tempering edge tools by color. After hardening steel by quenching in oil, he polished the surface bright and slowly reheated it. He watched the oxide colors creep across the metal. Pale straw meant a hard edge for razors, dark straw for chisels, bronze for axes, purple for springs, blue for screwdrivers. When the right color reached the cutting edge, he quenched again. No thermometer, no pyrometer, just a color chart memorized so deeply it became instinct. Hardware stores in 1955 sold replacement handles, not replacement tools, because the steel outlasted the wood. Second pattern break. The reason these skills died was not laziness, it was economics. In 1955, a Stanley chisel cost $2, about half an hour of labor. Today, the equivalent costs $12, but takes 20 minutes to earn. It became cheaper to replace than repair. The skills that kept tools alive for decades evaporated in a single generation. The tragedy is not that we stopped, it is that we never passed the knowledge forward. Number 6, hand scraping for a precision fit. Toolmakers shaved microscopic amounts of metal from a machine surface with a hardened scraper until it mated perfectly with its partner. They checked with Prussian blue paste, which marked high spots. Scrape the blue away, recheck, repeat. A hand-scraped surface holds oil better than a machined one, creating a natural bearing that reduces friction. This is why vintage machine tools from the 1950s still run smoother than brand new imports costing 10 times as much. Number 5, brazing with a torch and brass rod. When a cast iron bracket cracked, your grandfather cleaned the break, heated it with an oxyacetylene torch, and flowed brass into the joint. The brass wicketed into the crack by capillary action, creating a bond nearly as strong as the original. Too much heat and the cast iron cracked further. Too little heat and the brass balled up. A brazing kit cost $3 and could repair everything from a cracked engine block to a broken gate. Today, a cracked casting means a trip to the parts store and a bill that would have made your grandfather shake his head. In 1955, any carpenter worth his tool belt could lay out and cut a mortise and tin-on by hand in under 10 minutes. He marked the mortise with a marking gauge, drilled out the waste with a brace and bit, and squared the walls with a chisel. The tenon was cut with a back saw. No biscuit joiner, no pocket screws, just wood joined to wood with a geometry that gets stronger under load. Engineers at MIT tested these joints against modern fasteners, and the hand-cut joints distributed stress more evenly. Your grandfather knew this without study. He knew it because the barn his father built in 1910 was still standing without a single nail in the frame. Number 3. Sharpening on an oil stone to a mirror edge. Before guided sharpening systems that cost $200, your grandfather kept an Arkansas oil stone on his workbench. He held the chisel at 25 degrees and worked it in a figure-8 pattern with a few drops of oil. He felt the burr form, flipped the blade flat, and stropped once. 2 minutes later, the edge would shave hair off his forearm. A good stone cost $3 in 1955. It sat in a wooden box he made himself. Today, men spend hundreds on jigs trying to replicate what muscle memory gave him for free. Number 2, reading a machinist's blueprint. Every man who worked in a factory or on a construction crew in 1955 could read a blueprint, not just the dimensions. He understood tolerances, surface finish symbols, section views, and hidden lines. He looked at a flat drawing and saw the three-dimensional part in his mind. Shop class taught this beginning in 9th grade. Today, three-dimensional software has replaced the blueprint, but it did not replace spatial reasoning and mechanical visualization. Those skills have simply been lost. Number 1, setting up and operating a manual lathe. The engine lathe was king. Your grandfather could chuck round stock, set the compound slide, engage the power feed, and turn a shaft to within 0.005 of an inch. He cut threads using the thread dial indicator. He knew by the sound whether the feed rate was right. Too high a pitch meant chatter. A smooth hiss meant the tool was cutting clean. A manual lathe cost about $300 in 1955, and a man who could run one never went hungry. Today, CNC lathes do the cutting, but they are programmed by people who have never touched a manual machine. The feel of the hand wheel, the understanding of what metal sounds like when it is being cut correctly, that knowledge lived in the hands of men who learned by doing. When they retired, it retired with them. Here is my challenge. Go to your garage this weekend, pick up one hand tool, a file, a chisel, or a handsaw. Use it, not because it is faster, but because somewhere in the motion of your hands against raw material, there is a connection to every man who built something real. Before electricity did the thinking for us. Tell me in the comments which skill surprised you most. These skills are not dead. They are just sleeping, and they are waiting for someone to pick them back up.